This is the Gita class, chapter 15, sloka number 6th. Chapter 15, Purushottama Prapti Yoga. We'll do the Mangalachana prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjalatsalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yotapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Chapati Tanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktabandha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Bhagwan Ki Jai Prabhupada Ki Jai Shankar Bhagavad Ki Jai Hare Hare Shankara Jai Jai Shankara Gita Shastram Idam Punyam Yav Patet Prayatav Puman Vishnav Padamavapnoti Bhaye Shokadi Vajjatah Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Yani Karmapyekam Tasya Devasya Seva Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Sixth sloka. न तद्भासयते सूर्यः न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम न तद्भासयते सूर्यः न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम न तद्भासयते सूर्यः न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम नाट् दट् तत् दट् न तत् Bhasayate illuminates. Surya sun, nar, Shashankaha moon, nar, Pavakaha fire or electricity, Yat where, Gatva going, never, Nivartate they come back, Tad Dhama that abode, Paramam supreme, Mama my. Translation and purport with the Srila Prabhupada. Translation. That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon nor by electricity or fire. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Okay, this is like an exact translation. So the abode of mine, again, the personalist, they think their basis is there is a Goloka, there is a Loka where the spiritual planet is there, and that's where Bhagavan is talking about the characteristics of that little glimpse it is giving. So we cannot deny that, the impersonalist, personalists, they always fight or whatever. But as Ramakrishna Paramsa says, and then those Vivekananda and those Parampara says, they are like they accept everything basically. Samanvaya Chakravartis, basically, Samanvayas, they accept the Bhagavan, personal as impersonal, and then everything, even Shankaracharya also accept everything. So, when you are talking about the Bhagavan, related to Bhagavan, everything is true. That's what Ramakrishna Paramhansa says. Okay, that is what it is. So, you can talk about, because our buddhi is so limited, we think that we have so much faith, or we get influenced by these scientists or materialistic thinking that they are correct. But in reality, you need to observe and analyze what exactly they are telling, and then how much truth in that. They can say that, oh, we send the satellites and all this to the moon planet and then sun planet and everything, and then you get this data, and then sun is nothing but helium, hydrogen, whatever they talk about all these scientific terms, and then jugglery of words, and then confuse us. So basically that kind of knowledge is not going to help. And as mentioned, Prabhupada mentions always, our senses are imperfect. How can we able to think that whatever we see and perceive through the senses is right? So those are all things just as a background. So basically it is our Shraddha matters, and then so that's why don't lose our Shraddha on the scriptures, because that is what it is. Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhavadharana, that is called Shraddha. Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhavadharana Sa Shraddha Karita Sadbhet Yaya Vastu Palibdhate. Without Shraddha, we are not going to get our true nature. What is that Shraddha is? Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya. Whatever the Shastra is saying, whatever the Guru is saying, have faith on that, because you cannot able to perceive with your own experiences. Again, the translation I read again. That supreme abode of mine is Bhagavan is saying, is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Okay. So let's see the purport and then we can have a little discussion. The spiritual world, the abode of Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, which is known as Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavana, is described here. That's why, as I mentioned, because this Krishna consciousness means what? This is about all things about the Krishna realm. So consciousness, that chit, they connect with the Krishna Chaitanya, like that chit. And then Sachitananda, Atman, they're all Paramatma and everything. The only focus is on the Krishna, the personal form of the Vrindavan Krishna only, that too, and that too Gopika love. That is what the whole focus is here, on the Krishna consciousness. Someone will say like the Jnana Margas or Chinmaya, they always says like a God consciousness or infinite consciousness or consciousness, whatever you name it, like Ekam Sat Bahuda Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. There is only one truth. Several people tell, Acharyas tell in different as they realize it. And then eventually our job is to realize our true nature. And then once you are following whatever the Acharya says, whatever the Guru you are following, and then you can able to really feel the difference. And then at one point of time, you yourself will know that whether it's a Goloka there or the Paramatma or what is that and what is that Dhamma and everything, we realize our own selves. Okay, is described here, the Goloka. So that's what the Prabhupada starts conversation. In the spiritual sky, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, fire or electricity because all the planets are self-luminous. Because if you really see, in the earth, without the sun, you cannot live. Without the moon, you cannot live. And that same thing with the fire or electricity. That's why Bhagavan is taking those things which are practically applicable to us, and then he is telling about the other loka, that dhamma, that you don't need this. That means you will know the real nature. Okay, self-luminous. We have only one planet in this universe, the sun, which is self-luminous, but all the planets in the spiritual sky are self-luminous. The shining effulgence of all those planets called Vaikunthas constitute the shining sky known as Brahmajyoti. Actually, the effulgence is emanating from the planet of Krishna Golok Vrindavana. Part of that shining effulgence is covered by the Mahat Tattva, the material world. It's almost like a cloud covering the sky. In simple terms, it is explaining, so why not you accept it, And then material world. Other than this, the major portion of that shining sky is full of spiritual planets which are called Vaikunthas, chief of which is Golok Vrindavana. It's like they are explaining based on your whatever the buddhi level can get it. So, and as long as the living entity is in the dark material world, he is in the conditioned life. But as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky, by cutting through the false perverted tree of this material world, he becomes liberated. So, in the first three slokas, Bhagavan explained about the Ashwatha Vriksha, material world, how it entangles and how it teaches to us, and then he is saying that you just need to cut it. Asanga Shastrena Dhrudayana Chittva. With the Asanga Shastra, you just need to cut it. So, once you cut it, then spiritual sky by cutting through the false perverted tree. Once you cut it, then that is where you will become liberated. Asanga. Then there is no chance of his coming back here. Okay, in his conditioned life, the living entity considers himself to be the lord of this material world, but in his liberated state, he enters into the spiritual kingdom and becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord. There he enjoys eternal bliss, eternal life, and full of knowledge, which is Satchit Ananda. Okay, that's what it is going to the Atma Swarupa, our Swarupa is that. And then he says then there is no chance of his coming back here, right? Then we can say like a lot of people have the question like, if you are already Brahman, if you are already Atman, then why we are fallen here and what made us to fall here and all that thing. So several acharyas will talk about in their in their way to explain, pacify the mind. That's all, basically. So, for example, here it says like because of the desire you fall down, and then because of the desire only you are in the material world, but actually you are actually there. You are already Atman. So there is nothing to do that. Only thing is you need to cut the ajnana only. So everyone says the same thing. Even the Jnana Marga, they will say like, what is that? Because of the ajnana, you just came here, fall down. And then, because then the Bhakti Marga people will comment on the, why then ajnana is more powerful than jnana. So all this. But anyway, Shankaracharya, a student asked Shankaracharya about this, why this Anadi came, how this Anadi came, what happened to my previous life, and then first life, whether if I am Atman, soul, how come I, came into this? Then Shankaracharya's answer is just to define the ignorance is anadi. You cannot define anadi. It's a maya, and then you just work on what you need to do right now. Don't worry about what happened already, and you are already fallen. You know it. You know the solution to get out from this cycle of birth and death. Then just work on it. So that's what even the Maya, my nice quote in the Vivek Chudamani. Sannapya sannapya bhayatmikano, bhinnapya bhinnapya bhayatmikano, sangapya nangapya bhayatmikano, anirvachanayaravenuta, anirvachanayamena rupa. Bhayatmikano, sangapya nangapya bhayatmikano, anirvachanam adbhutam, that is called Maya. You cannot say true, you cannot say false, you cannot say true or false. That is what Maya means. Okay? Sangam, asangam, not sangam or asangam. Satyam, sannapya sannapya, bhinnapya bhinna, bhinnam abhinna, or bhinna abhinna, both. You cannot define anything. Now, one should be captivated by this information. He should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. For one who is too much attached to this material world, it is very difficult to cut that attachment. But if he takes to Krishna consciousness, there is a chance of gradually becoming detached. One has to associate himself with devotees, those who are in Krishna consciousness. One should search out a society dedicated to Krishna consciousness and learn how to discharge devotion service. In this way, he can cut off his attachment to the material world. One cannot become detached from the attraction of the material world simply by dressing himself in saffron cloth. See, everything is saying the same exact thing what to do. Forget about this, the end result, because the end result you yourself will experience. So just by dressing the saffron cloth, you are not the devotee. That's what he's saying. You need to work on it. He must become attached to the devotion service of the Lord. Therefore, one should take it very seriously that devotion service, as described in the 12th chapter, is the only way to get out of this false representation of the real tree. So, Bhagavan already explained in the 12th chapter what is actually the devotion service. Give the mind and buddhi, and so many qualities also explained that. So, you can always measure yourself, where are you? So, become attached to the devotion service of the Lord is very important. Like you always say, we hear that Prabhupada, when he was a kid, he used to look at the deity hours together. That is not an ordinary thing, because even after so much knowledge and everything, you cannot see the deity in 5 minutes. Imagine that is what the status of the mind, or that is where the great acharyas are like that. Okay, real tree. And then in chapter 14, the contamination of all kinds of processes by material nature is described. Only devotional service is described as a purely transcendental. 14th chapter is like a gunas. All the gunas, mamcha vibhicharena bhakti yogina sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma boyaya kalpate. That's what he says. Mamcha avyabhicharena vyabhicharya. Mamcha avyabhicharena bhakti yogina sevate. Bhakti with avyabhicharya means uncontaminated. So always. So that's what it is. So anyway, whatever the marka you follow, the end result is same. You are going to get it. But just follow what is things. First of all, you cut the kamana. Then cut with the detachment. That is what the main important here is. Because why we need to detach means, we have the family and everything. We don't want to do this means it's all maya. It's not there. It's not real at all. So, and if you really see from the whole life, from birth to till now, if you really see, you might have attached so many things, so many objects, so many humans, and so many people, and then detached, attachment going on. That is how the cycle of life of birth and death. But you now detach to the unreal and attach to the real. That is what the real meaning and purpose of the human life. And with that, you are going to get the unlimited sukha. That is our own real nature. So this is the sixth sloka. Bhagavan is explaining about that Dhamma. So that you will know that unlimited happiness is there and you crave for it and you work for it. Okay. And previous sloka we already talked about what are the things we needed, and then nirmana moha, jita sangha dosha, adhyatma nitya, vinivritta kamaha, dvandvair vimukta, sukha dukkha sangye, gachancha moda of padamavyayam tata. That's what we needed. And before also, tat paripargitavyam, yasmin gata nivartanti boya, tameva chadyam purusham prapadde, etaf pravati prasuta purani. Then he says like that, Sharanubandha Bhakti Bhavana Paramatma, that is the only way. Okay. Now the last para, the words Paramam Mama are very important here. Actually, every nook and corner is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the spiritual world is Paramam, full of six excellences. Again, he says like every nook and corner is the property of the Lord, everything is the Lord. Without the Chaitanya, nothing is going to function. And from the Chaitanya, the material worlds came. It's almost like a gold is the gold, from the gold mineral, all the gold ornaments came. So in the gold ornaments, everything is gold only. Without the ornaments, the gold is there. So it's almost like that. All chit is everything, and then in that material world is appeared and then disappeared. That's how it happens. Same thing with the earth and the pots, and then same thing in the water and the waves. Okay, these are all the nice examples which we need to keep on reminding ourselves all the time. Same thing with the sky, inside all the matters, inside all the elements, and then without that also. The Katha Upanishad also confirms that in the spiritual world there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, or stars. Ratatta Suryo Bhati Nachanda Tarakam Nema Vidyuto Bhati Kutoyam Agnihi. Same thing in the Mundaka Upanishad also, the same sloka is there, I think. We can talk about that. For the whole spiritual wise, the sky is illuminated by the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. That Supreme Abode can be achieved only by surrender and by no other means. That is what the thing. Surrender is the main key. Okay. So because with that, with bhakti means what? You Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Richate Sarvopadi Vinuktam. All your indriyas you just employ into the service of the Hrishikesha, Lord of the Indriyas. That's where you get to know your own nature, your own spiritual nature. And that surrender, the Bhagavan is when you surrender to the Bhagavan, and Bhagavan, he only gives the knowledge of our true nature. We cannot go by our own effort or anything. Even same thing like Atman Yevatmana. So even in the Upanishads also, like Atma only is the one which is going to get you the realization, not your own effort or anything. Okay. So that's what even the Katha Upanishad says, Nadatta Suryo Bhati Nachanda Tarakam Nema Vidyuto Bhati Kutoyam Agni Tameva Jantam Anubanti Varam Tasya Vasa Sarvamidam Vibhati. So basically Nachatta Suryo Bhati Nachanda Tarakam Nema Vidyuto. So out of that light, the sun, moon, and even fire and everything is nothing. And that light is the only one which is illuminating everything, even illuminating these illuminating objects also. That's what it is. And Chinmayananda gives a nice example that in the hot summer, midday of the hot summer, there is open space, no shade, nothing. One guy is there and he wanted to he wanted to drink cigarette, and then he lights the cigarette. Then at that time, so see that light, out of all this light, how much is the light is, and that light also, but the source of the light is again sunlight. So similarly, that Chitananda, Chitta Bhasa, and then that spiritual consciousness, that is our Krishna consciousness or the Krishna. From that only all the illuminati coming, and that is what it is. So that's why it is giving a glimpse of our own back home, back to Godhead, so that we can be determined, so that we cut this material world. Then we realize that how the spiritual world is going to be, where we are going to be, and then how we are going to be. Okay, that awareness already it is there. We are already that. Now, if you see the Vidya Prakashananda Swami, he says basically Edgatva Navattante, basically he says the same thing. Basically he explains in the Mundaka Upanishad ways that Natatta Surya Bhati, how he explained is basically Surya and Chandra, they are illuminating the objects. Okay, and then our eye, without the eye you cannot even see the sun. Okay, if you are sleeping you don't even see the external world and everything. So that's why the eyes are more powerful and eyes are illuminating everything, sun including the sun and all that. And the eyes, the buddhi or the mind is is illuminating the eyes, because when you are seeing something, buddhi should be, mind should be attached to that, otherwise even if you are seeing you won't see it. So that's a buddhi. And then again with the consciousness, without the consciousness that buddhi won't even function. The reflected consciousness on the buddhi is the one gets the energy out of that. Otherwise buddhi is all inert matter only. So that's why basically it's saying that always you know your true nature, and once you know it you won't come back again. So that is again different thing. But once you are that, then you get your own true nature, and that's what whatever you are searching now, that highest thing you are going to get it. Like you want to live forever eternal, and then peacefully, happily, and then with the awareness. So all those three together are our own nature. And here he says like because here it says paramam mama. Paramam means greatest, highest. Brahman, paramam is all highest ones, and that Brahmarupa is the one that is the highest one. That's what Bhagavan is saying. And then try to get that sthanam, that padavi, or that post. And then so that's why you need to see what is Bhagavan's greatest thing. We need to work for it, not that what are the people's greatest ones. So now the people's greatest is power in the society, or wealth in the society, and then showing off and all that one. They think that is the power, but actually Bhagavan is saying like, no, that is not the one. Spirituality is the power. Realization of our own true nature is the powerful stuff. Okay. So that is what he says. And then after on going forward, he says like, in the next sloka and everything, because of the mind only we are entangled, and how we are changing the bodies from one body to another, and all that we're going to discuss in the coming slokas. So again, if you really say, the mainly is know your true nature, Viveka, Vairagya, again same thing, over and over again, same thing. What is Viveka? Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. So what is the reality and what is unreal? So with that one, you just realize your own true nature, and then with the Vairagya, you cut the unreal one, and then get the attached to the real ones and all that. Okay. Again, the main formula, very important, is avidya, kama, karma. The karma happens, the activities happens by the mind, and because when there is a desire, then the mind will act to fulfill for that desire. And the desire comes because of the avidya only, ajnana only. When you are realize your own true nature, when you realize that you are Brahman, then there is no desire, because desire is for what? Desire is to get the happiness only. And that happiness, it's already our Sarupa itself is a happiness, then there is no desire at all. So that's why avidya, kama, karma is the biggest formula. Nice formula explained in the Shastra several times. So first you need to work on this, getting the knowledge. That's why each and every action and everything, you just analyze it. Each and every thought, you analyze it. You keep on observing the thoughts, and then you keep on following it. You just focus everything into the one direction, Ananya Chintana. That is what it is, Bhagavan Chintana. Then you will realize your nature. That's why he says in the 7th chapter, Bhagavan says like, Jnana Yogi, Atto Jignasu Ardhadi, Jnani Cha Bharatarshava, Tesham Jnani Nityuktaha Eka Bhaktir Vivishishate. Priyo Jnani. So basically, out of all the 4 bhaktas, he likes the Jnana Bhakti, because he is like a one focused, bhakti towards Bhagavan. That is what it is. We need it. So that's why we need to really analyze all the events happening, and then don't get entangled into all the people are saying. So get the knowledge of the Shastras and then get the digestion, digest on the thoughts, on the concepts, and then that's where you get to work on it. Otherwise, if you don't have the knowledge, then you cannot work it. And that's why he says like Channadvaita Yadatmana Sarvabhuta. That's what it is. Like a, Jnanagni Tasmat Asastasam Jnanam Tasmat Shastra Brahmanante Karyakarvisto Jnatva Sarvam. Yeah, in the 4th chapter, the last sloka it says. So, with the jnana, you just cut the ajnana and then realize your own nature. That's what it says. So, that sloka is Tasmad ajnana sambhotam hastam jnanasnatmanah chitvainam samshayam yogam attishta bharata. That ajnana in the hridaya, that yes, and you just with the knowledge, with the sword of knowledge, you cut it, and then that's how you do the Nishkama Karma Yoga, and then you get it that. Okay, that's what. And also the sun, moon, even the fire. In the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in the Vibhutis, he says like that, those are my Vibhutis. Okay. Adityanam aham Vishnu, Jyotisham Raviram Suman, Nakshatranam aham Shashi. Jyotisham Raviram Suman means sun, out of all the illuminating objects. And then Nakshatranam aham Shashi means out of all the stars, moon I am the one. Pavakanam, Pavakasmi. Okay. Pavaka means the fire. Okay. Adityanam Vishnu. Okay. Mahishinam Rudranam Vasunam Pavakashasmi. Vasu means out of all the Vasus. That means kind of like different Astavasura they will say. Then so basically Vasus are another characters are the objects again, and then out of that Agni is the one. That's what he is. So all the ones he says like they are all mine Vibhuti only, and this for the material world to function, and then Bhagavan created all this, and then these are all actually not created. It is appeared on the it's like almost like the waves are appeared on the ocean, but actually those are all the water only. Like that, all the objects, all the matter, Mahat Tattvas, and then the Panchabhutas, Trigunas, and then Buddhi, Chitta, Hankarat, Mahabhutas, all those are all appear like a material matter, but in reality they are all spiritual, they are all Brahman. That's why they say, Acharya says, Brahmamokate, Parabrahmamokate. So everything, but he appeared in a different forms and names and forms. But again, whatever the marker we choose, focus on that, whatever the Acharya is saying. So in the Bhakti Marka, Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana, Pada Sevana Dasyare, Pujana, Sakijana, Atmanivedana. Atmanivedana means totally everything surrendered to the Bhagavan. Jnana Marga, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Again, listen it, meditate on it, and Nididhyasana means contemplate and live on that. It's all same. Goal is same. The thing is them, and then Shankaracharya says in the Atmabodha, with the jnana only, that is the only direct means to the thing, to cut the jnana. That's where the realization of true nature. But and all these, but for that chitta suddhi should happen. For that clean up of mind and heart, you need all the other process, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. Same thing. Bhagavan also says in the Chatushlokya Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabha, I am everything. And then by knowing this, Machitta, Madhyata Prana, discuss about mine only, then I will give the Jnana Yogam, I will give Buddhi Yogam, and after that Jnana Deepena Bhasvata, I light the lamp in the heart, and then it to eliminate the ignore Ajnana. So both are same, but whatever the following, you have to follow very strictly, very seriously, and then very attentively, and then you just follow, and then entire the day you just be on that. And then some of the vasanas are very strong, which you cannot able to overcome, but over a period of time you can able to win it. But again, there is no stress and then no pressure on the mind. If the mind is going behind the vasanas or the objects, just go and enjoy. At the same time, you just analyze on all things. Even the dharma things should be there. Adharma, don't do it. Because of the Kali Yuga, the dharma things also more provocating. But have the patience and then don't do it. Even if the mind is thinking also, let it think that way, but don't implement it. And then try to postpone those thoughts, try to postpone and try to analyze. Whenever you try to do, when you do it or in the mind, try to analyze the same over and over again and try to find different means by the shastras, reading the shastras, chanting the name of the Lord and then doing all that thing. Okay, Gayatri Japam, all the stuff you keep on continuing and eventually we will get there by with the mercy of the Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Prabhupada.